Welcome, dear listeners and seekers of ancient wisdom. Today, I bring you a tale of pride and divine justice, of kingdoms rising and falling, of men who believed they could conquer the world, and of a power greater than any empire. This is the story of Sennacherib, king of Assyria, and the miraculous defeat of his mighty army at the gates of Jerusalem. If you love stories of kings, prophets, warriors, angels, demons, and the mysterious workings of fate, then this tale is for you. Stay with me to the end, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Who's your favorite character? Is it the prideful Sennacherib, the faithful Hezekiah, or maybe the silent, deadly angel who turned the tide? Let's dive in and discover the depths of this incredible story, the Assyrian Empire and the rise of Sennacherib. To understand the story, we must first understand Sennacherib and the Assyrian Empire he ruled. In the 8th and 7th centuries BCE, Assyria was the superpower of the ancient Near East. Its armies were feared across the world, its cities were unmatched in wealth and splendor, and its kings claimed the authority of the gods themselves. Sennacherib ascended the throne in 705 BCE, inheriting a vast empire that stretched from Mesopotamia to the Mediterranean. He was a builder as much as a warrior, known for his ambitious architectural projects, including the magnificent city of Nineveh, which he transformed into the jewel of the empire. But Sennacherib was also ruthless. His campaigns of conquest were marked by brutal efficiency. Cities burned, populations enslaved, and rebels crushed without mercy. By 701 BCE, Sennacherib had turned his gaze toward the rebellious kingdom of Judah. Judah was small and relatively insignificant compared to the other kingdoms of the region, but it was strategically located and, perhaps more importantly, defiant. Its king, Hezekiah, refused to submit to Assyrian rule, trusting instead in his God to deliver his people. The march to Jerusalem. Sennacherib's campaign against Judah was part of a larger effort to reassert Assyrian dominance in the region. His army, a force of tens of thousands, was a fearsome sight. Chariots rumbled across the plains, infantry marched in perfect unison, and siege engines capable of toppling the strongest walls rolled forward. City after city fell before the Assyrian onslaught. Lachish, one of Judah's most important fortresses, was captured after a brutal siege. Sennacherib himself recorded the victory on a series of reliefs, boasting of the treasures he plundered and the captives he took. For the people of Judah, it seemed that no force on earth could stop the Assyrians. And then, the army turned toward Jerusalem. The city, perched on its hilltop, must have seemed a fragile and insignificant target to the Assyrian king. But for Hezekiah and his people, it was their last hope, their final refuge. The siege begins. As the Assyrian army surrounded Jerusalem, its sheer size must have been overwhelming. Sennacherib's forces stretched as far as the eye could see, and their war machines loomed over the city walls. The Assyrians were masters of psychological warfare, and they used every trick in their arsenal to demoralize the defenders. Sennacherib sent envoys to the walls with a message for Hezekiah and the people of Jerusalem. It was a message of mockery and intimidation. Do not let Hezekiah deceive you. Do not let him make you trust in the Lord, saying, "The Lord will surely deliver us." Has any god of the nations ever delivered his land out of the hand of the king of Assyria? Where are the gods of Hamath and Arpad? Where are the gods of Sepharvaim? Have they delivered Samaria out of my hand? Who among all the gods of these lands has delivered their lands out of my hand, that the Lord should deliver Jerusalem out of my hand? These words were designed to sow doubt and fear, and for many, they might have succeeded. But Hezekiah was no ordinary king. Hezekiah's faith and the words of Isaiah. Hezekiah's response to Sennacherib's threats was not to rally his army or attempt to negotiate. Instead, he turned to prayer. In the face of impossible odds, he went to the temple of the Lord and spread out the letter containing Sennacherib's threats before God. O Lord, the God of Israel, enthroned above the cherubim, you are the God, you alone, of all the kingdoms of the earth. You have made heaven and earth. Incline your ear, O Lord, and hear. Open your eyes, O Lord, and see, and hear the words of Sennacherib, which he has sent to mock the living God. It was a moment of profound faith and humility, and it was then that the prophet Isaiah appeared, bringing a message from God. Do not be afraid because of the words you have heard, with which the servants of the king of Assyria have reviled me. Behold, I will put a spirit in him, so that he shall hear a rumor and return to his own land. And I will make him fall by the sword in his own land. The night of terror. And so it came to pass. That night, as the Assyrian army camped outside Jerusalem, something extraordinary happened. The Bible tells us that an angel of the Lord went forth and struck down 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. By morning, the camp was a scene of horror. Tents filled with the dead, weapons scattered among lifeless hands, and the survivors in a state of shock and panic. What exactly happened that night? The biblical account attributes it to divine intervention, but other explanations have been proposed. Could it have been a sudden outbreak of disease? Perhaps a plague carried by rats. Some historians suggest food poisoning or contaminated water. Others point to the possibility of a natural disaster, such as a sandstorm or even an earthquake. Whatever the cause, the effect was undeniable. The once mighty Assyrian army was broken, and Sennacherib had no choice but to retreat. Sennacherib's return and ultimate fate. Humiliated, Sennacherib returned to Nineveh. He had boasted of his invincibility, but his failure at Jerusalem was a stain on his record that he could never erase. And then, in a final twist of fate, Sennacherib met his end not on the battlefield, but in the temple of his god, Nisroch. As he worshipped, 2 of his own sons assassinated him, fleeing afterward to avoid retribution. His death was a fitting end for a king whose pride had led to his downfall. The legacy of the miracle. The story of Sennacherib's defeat left a lasting impression not only on the people of Jerusalem, but on the entire ancient world. For the Assyrians, it was an embarrassment they sought to downplay. In the famous Taylor Prism, Sennacherib boasts of trapping Hezekiah, like a bird in a cage, but says nothing of his army's destruction. For the people of Judah, however, it was a moment of vindication, a testament to the power of their God and the faith of their king. The story became a symbol of hope and a reminder that even the mightiest empires are no match for divine justice. A philosophical reflection. What can we learn from this tale today? Sennacherib's downfall is a lesson in the dangers of arrogance and the limits of human power. He believed that his armies and machines could conquer anything, but he underestimated forces beyond his comprehension. Hezekiah, on the other hand, teaches us the value of humility and faith. Faced with overwhelming odds, he placed his trust not in his own strength, but in something greater. Thank you for joining me on this journey through history and legend. If you enjoyed this tale, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Who was your favorite character? The proud Sennacherib? The steadfast Hezekiah? Or perhaps the mysterious angel who struck down the Assyrian army? Until next time, stay curious and remember, the past has much to teach us about the present.